All right, so we're going to do another tutorial video along with a bunch of other stuff mixed into it. By now, I'm sure you've seen the 500 IV pouch. This will be kind of like that, different product. You'll be able to figure out what this product is as we go. But throw in the comments there what you think this is, you know, before it's obvious. I mean, just take some guesses and see what you think this is. Again, we're going to go from process elimination. I've got some pieces here. I've got some pieces here. I've got the pieces here. And I'm just going to start sewing. We're going to use 2 colors of thread on this, but I'm going to sew everything because the machine already has black on. I'm going to sew all my parts that require black right now, and then we're going to switch over. So we'll just jump in here and kind of get started right now. I've already made my marks on here. So I'm just going to tack this right here. And again, we're just, we're not looking at the whole piece of work. We're looking at the work as a couple of inches at a time. And anytime we can run right into the next piece of work, it is a lot less thread you have to pull out and start and stop. So we'll just run right into here. Go ahead and catch that right angle there, and then go ahead and separate that piece so we're not moving as much bulk while I have it in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and burn off those threads and seal them. That keeps that from ever pulling back out of there. Not that it's an issue, not that it would have come undone, but when your customer sees that piece of thread, the first thing they're going to think is, oh, this is coming apart. So it cleans it up at the same time and sears it and locks it in place. And I'm sure you can figure out that we're making handles. You could take this and leave it open on an end and put a piece of dowel of plastic or something in there and make it more of a robust handle if you wanted to. This particular product definitely doesn't need it. I've got a couple pieces of Velcro I'm going to sew on here. Again, you don't need to mark them, just fold them in half, find the center. I've already got a mark right here as to where this is going to go and sit. No load bearing to this, so I'm just going to lock a couple stitches, backspace it. You don't need to come across the whole line. Again, you can if you want to. As you see here, started here, came around, came back, came in a few stitches, locked it back. That's the end of it. A lot of guys will run around this 2-3 times. It's Velcro. You don't need to. There's no load bearing capability to it. It's not going to come off of there. And in sewing Velcro a ton, you perforate it, and you actually, if you're going to see a failure, it's because you have run the needle through the Velcro so many times. The only thing this Velcro will be used for is to attach patches or ID tapes. A lot of guys will just take an opposing piece of Velcro, put on there, and write on in Sharpie what the contents of the bags are if they have multiple bags that look the same. All right, there's that. We will go back to this webbing that I sewed. We will go ahead and put these on here. Put them on inboard of the line. There's my center line. I'm going to come past it, 1/4 to 1/2 inch, whatever you want. Okay, leading edge. That is the edge that is going to catch all of the weight. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just go here, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come over to this box right here. You can sew it backwards if you can. If your machine's tuned, you can do that. Or you can come over here. I'm going to go right here, just like so. I'm going to come across. You can make a box first if you need to. Now I'm going to come from there. I'm going to lock this back in here. That's 4 lines of stitching where that leading edge is. I'm going to travel straight down here. Go ahead and lock that down. I'm going to travel backwards. I'm going to cut that off of there. And I'm going to make sure your handles are the same way. Whether you want them up or down, just make sure they're both identical. I'm going to come past here. At this point, you can take this and fold this under if you want to. We don't on this product. I'm going to come right into here, travel across, hold it because it will shift. Mark this just a little more so I can see it. I did not get that other mark. I know that this happens to be 2-inch webbing. We make these boxes square, so that's 2-inch there. I'm just going to put this on here so you guys can kind of see it. Now, if you want to make a box first, you can make a box if you want to. The less I have to turn it, the less traveling I have. So here we go here. There's my box. I don't want to go just from that corner up. I want to lock my box all the way. So here I'm locked. And I'm actually going to travel across here because leading edge, if something's coming off of here, the first thing is going to be this top edge here. That's what it's catching. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that in there. You can even go back if you like. And then put your X inside your box. If you're overshooting your line, it is okay to move your work a little bit to get in the same line. So lock down there. Now here, leading edge, that's the exposed edge. Now I'm going to put a couple more here, just to tack that down. We've never seen one of these come off. When you set this bag down, when it scrapes on the concrete, that's where it rubs. We've never seen a failure. Now over here, same thing. Now, you will put these bags all the way together. Sometimes you will build a project and realize that you have twisted this. It's a lot easier to double check here and then make sure you're in the right place and put it in place than to have to cut it apart. Am I out of thread? No. See, I just moved it over a little bit. I wanted to be a little bit further in the meat. And I'm just coming down to my mark right here. You can eyeball these if you want, but we sew a lot of contrast thread, so if you're not even on both sides, you will really see it when you have opposing thread colors. You can also sew backwards. You'll find a lot of machines though, when they're not tuned perfectly, the tension will be different sewing in reverse. So if that's the case, or you're just not sure, just sew forward. Just turn your work when you're going. I'm going to lock it in right there. travel backwards a little bit. Again, double check this handle, make sure that it is not twisted. I've got this little reflection here, it's oil dripping out of the machine. I haven't sewn on this yet today. Whenever you're done with your machine, drop oils in all these oil wicks. You'll know where they are because typically whoever you bought it from will have put red fingernail polish on all of them. A little drop of oil each one. And then before you work, if you're working on light colors, tan, anything like that, especially whites, wipe that all down. Take your machine, take the thread out of the needle and just spin it full speed. Let the oil wicks move all the oil and then give it a minute, it'll drip out. Wipe that up and then generally you're good to go at that point. Okay, out of thread there, I'll just leave it connected so I can see where I ended. Pull that bobbin. While I'm doing that, I'm grabbing this thread over here, cutting it at the same time as I wind this in. Now I'm underneath putting it back into place and putting this one on at the same time. I'm gonna grab this thread here. I'm gonna put 2, 3, 4 loops around there. I'm gonna take this long tail and put it through one of the holes in the bobbin. And then when I start sewing here, that's sitting there. I'm going to come back and over sew where I had left off here. Wait, I need to pull the thread up. You can do this, but if you don't pull this up first like this and you just start sewing, you'll usually get a rat nest somewhere in there in the work. You'll have to deal with it later. So I'm going to tack this in, lock it. Bobbin is spinning. I'm going to go ahead and hold this in place and let that thread start moving. Get some good wraps on that bobbin. And that's 2 inches of stitching. I'm going to go probably about 3.5, 4 inches right there. And now that thread, just from twisting against the edge, has come off. Now my bobbin is set in there and winding. Go ahead and cut that out of there. A lot of guys have no idea why they put an X in things. This doesn't need an X. It looks neat, especially if you have opposing contrasting thread. So if there was red or yellow thread on this, the X makes it look very nice. You do not need it on this though. A lot of guys start sewing because they look at other larger manufacturers' product and they see that X, and the real reason that X is in there is because it's one of the programs that's in the tacker when they sew it on, and it actually goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then tacks it or comes back across the top. So you'll get 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom with the X's. It's all connected, and then they'll travel through. But a lot of guys just duplicate that because they see that and they have no idea why that is on the product. Again, any ideas what this is going to be? See how all that thread's in there because I didn't cut that off, so now I'm dealing with it now. You could leave it. A lot of companies do leave it, but we'll cut it out, make everything look all nice. That is what that looks like right there. You can see some of the places where it didn't line up, right, where I had started and stopped. This travels in, that is not a dead line. This actually traveled here and I came across here. Okay, so there's that. I do have my center marks here and I've got my quarter marks. So basically quarter, half, 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 half or quarters. And then we know this Velcro is on center, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this mark here that I didn't get. So when I go to put these other pieces on here, it's going to be very easy to index it and find it. Okay, now this is zippers. We showed you zipper lips before. A lot of people look at a product line, like you might look at our product line, for instance, and think, man, thousands of items. We do. I have 1,400 part numbers just in one kind of belt. And we make 7 different types of belts. But really, if you look at anything we make, for the most part with a zipper, we make probably 3 products. The difference in them is the dimensions are different, or we bedazzle them different. What I mean by that is we put different bullshit on them. But really, it's a square bag or a rectangular type bag with a zipper. And when we do that, when you break it down to the rawest forms in the build, we might have 500 different products, but really they're one of 3, just in different dimensions. So we're gonna go ahead and put this zipper on here. I guess I'll go ahead and tack this in. You're not gonna see this part, so I'll tack this in black here. While we have it, and that's the big side of the foot, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it. This is the small side of this zipper of this presser foot. And you can get them different. You can get them with both sides, you can get them with no side, you can get them too small, but that's how this happens to be, big and small. And this is gonna put me closer to this zipper here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and run this. And if you look at me, look at me. Look at my eyes, look at my eyes. I'm not even paying attention, look at the zipper, see it? I don't even have to look at it. The machine will just guide. No hands, Mom. Look, Mom, no hands. And it'll just sew through there. Right there, okay? So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off because I started from the edge. I know that I'm gonna line these up here. There's that. And you can separate them, or while we have this, we can go ahead and just start it. You could run it this way, but it's easier for me to have the work on the outside. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of set this in here. And if you pull on this differently, you will get these, they won't even up, but I think I can do this to where it's pretty even. Now, if you're sewing this and you come off a little bit, don't trip, Tater Chip. It's gonna be okay. If it's off just a little bit, you don't even need to fix it. You're gonna catch it with the other line. If it's off a lot of bit, just nick it with a little razor blade and pull it off. Okay, now here's that little small line we talked about. We're just gonna run it on down. You can run it slow if you're not comfortable, or you can open it up. You can run it full speed, just like that. There's that. There's this. Now, because it's easier for me, I'm gonna go ahead and do these. We're gonna flip this over, and we're gonna make that little zipper lips, those guards on there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and change my thread color because all the rest of the build is gonna be on light color. And it's a lot more forgiving to sew color on color. So I'll go ahead and change my threads. As you see, a lot of your thread will come in these bags. And if it doesn't, just get you a Ziploc bag, put this in here. And we're not gonna pull our thread out. We're going to just take the long tail of the thread we had. We're going to tie these in, just like that. We're going to raise our foot. In raising the foot, it will usually release tension on this tensioner here. So when you go to pull this thread, it just moves through. Now, this will stutter a lot of times. So make sure it's when it's going through those guides, you're pulling slow and deliberately. You don't want to stutter and have it pull this through your finger. It will cut the shit out of you. Okay, there's that. The reason this is in the bag is because a lot of times this thread, depending on the coating, sometimes it will fall down under this, and when you're pulling it will stutter also. This keeps this from catching that thread underneath your thread stand. I'm gonna run this right through this hole here. There we go, we're lined up. We're gonna go ahead and change out this bobbin to Coyote.
God's color.
The shit from God's dog. Okay, now these tails, you'll see guys do all kinds of shit with their thread. I want my thread all back here, kind of pulled off to the side. I also, when I start sewing, I'm gonna hold these tails down, because when you sew, they're gonna come back, and a lot of times you'll just get this rat nest. If you see where you start sewing, you've got this little nest and mess of thread, just hold your thread. Make your tails longer, hold your thread down, it'll take care of all of that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this black off of here, and the rest of the build's all Coyote, so I'm gonna cut this black out of here. As you see, no bag on this one. Doesn't matter as much on the bobbin side. Tie that in. I'm gonna pull this gently right up to that point. There it goes. I'm gonna bring it back here. And I always take all my long thread and shit, I wrap it up and I just put it right in a trash can, which I don't have out here in this building here. Got enough thread here to transition when we go. And here we go. I just fold this over. I am looking at this right here. I want this even. And that's where I'm gonna start sewing. You can start sewing on the outside or the inside, whichever you're comfortable with. I don't care. I'm gonna start right there on the inside. And then once that needle's down there, I can take this, and now all I gotta do is just kind of line this up. I'm gonna push down, see where I'm at, and now I can just sew to this point and take bites at it. So 3, 4, 5 inches at a time. Now you can use black on this side and Coyote on that side, but a lot of times they'll pull through and you'll see those little dots. Also, we find a lot of times when we're sewing something contrasting color, you'll see a lot of companies don't do it. When we sew something in color, we usually typically sew double, if not triple, the thread. A lot of times we'll even pre-sew in the neutral color and then over sew it in the color to get the proper. And a lot of times for some reason, and I don't know why this is, but it's always been the case, when we're using pink thread, toxic green thread, red thread, blue thread, when you use color on color, if you use blue thread, blue bob, and blue top, it doesn't tension right. A lot of times when we use our top thread in the color and use black on the bottom, the thread works properly. When we use pink on pink, it's miserable. It never tensions right, and I'm telling you, I got 52 machines. It's not an issue of tension. We have mechanics that literally travel all over the United States. We have some of the best mechanics in the entire industry working these machines. It's something with the inconsistencies with the thread perhaps, but the fix to it when your colored thread contrasting is not tensioning properly, just use black on the bottom. It almost always fixes it. Now that one there, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here, set them so I can just run that next line just right in line. When we make a lot of bags like this, like we'll make these bags a couple hundred at a time, we will actually even take this and we won't even have the zippers cut. I'll just have a zipper on a pole. I'll have a spool of zipper on the pole and we'll just tack it in and we'll just run all of these and it'll just be running from behind me about 5 feet and it'll just be winding straight out because there's no twist because it's feeding off of the pole. Also, if we're gonna do a ton of these bags, we'll cut these on the long piece because the material is 60 inches wide, 75-yard put-ups on our rolls. We'll just cut them super long. We'll run them all in one piece and then we will come through and cut them at the length they need to be if we're doing a bigger production. Okay, tack that in there, travel on out. So there's that. Now, you can turn this around and sew it. Like I said, I'm easier working on the other side. So I will just pull all my work back now and just run right off of this like a guide here. There's the work. I'm going to tack that in. Tack it in at the end, tack it in the beginning of the next piece. I'll see how fast this will go. You got it. You might want to move it into like 8K or something.
Oh, okay. I don't think I caught that. Did you just do something?
Do you know why I sew that fast?
Why?
Because that's as fast as the machine will go. So these are, this is a servo motor on here, which basically means it's an electric motor. When I started sewing, there was no such thing, or we couldn't afford it. I don't know which it was. I think they didn't exist. We used to use what was called a clutch motor, which was like driving a car, and it's much like driving a car when you're learning to drive a car. It's all over the place, and you give it too much or not enough. So when you look at machines in factories, where you have people that did not learn to sew on a servo motor, all the paint's worn off these wheels here because we use this like a clutch kind of. It's like giving it a little gas and a little clutch. We can slow this down when the machine starts to break and starts to move. I don't know, maybe you see it in factories with all servo motors, but all of our people that work here have sewn in other factories, and they all, except for we got a couple young girls that haven't. So, but I think it's mostly comes out of habit from the older clutch motors. But anytime I'm on a servo motor and I'm still doing, I use it to control the speed if I need to for intricacy. Okay, so there is that. We can burn the fuzz off of these if you need to. You don't have to. We're going to conceal this. You're never going to see this edge. But I am going to, again, grab these zipper pulls, get the opposing sides, and line them up. That last video you did where you heard it zipping up, was that sound design, or was that actually the sound? Yeah, it came out good. Ooh, almost, man, perfect. So, you will see that even though these were the same, I've got about a ½ inch difference right here. Now, I'm pretty damn close here. I could come down a couple teeth and get a little bit evened up, but I don't need to. I have a little bit of overage built in here. I'm gonna take this one. I think I'm pretty close there. Oh yeah, it's perfect. I'm gonna pull these out of the way, mainly just so I don't get a needle. A needle will sew through this, but it will beat up your needle or bend your needle, or in fact knock it out of time. If you have this needle in this needle bar very tightly, rather than breaking the needle or setting it out of time down here, it will jam this and flex this, and that needle will shrapnel. So just keep your metal out of the way. Okay, now this here, we could sew this on here and then conceal it with edge tape, but it's about the same amount of work, and it gives you a much nicer product by just using an opposite piece. John, why are you using black? I'm actually using LAPD blue. It looks black, but I bought 7,500 yards of this, I think. So this material here costs, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you, this material here is a yard if you buy it by the roll. If you're buying it by the yard, you're paying dollars. When I buy solid colors, I'm paying dollars a yard. When I buy overages or seconds, which usually means there's a blemish someplace. Not that it matters, especially on a liner material. I buy this for a yard. I just bought 10,000 yards Monday. I bought 10,000 yards of overages, and I bought just, you know, neutral colors, and that'll work perfect for this. So when you're building hundreds of bags that are double lined, double layered, it will be of your interest. We should probably edit that part out. I shouldn't even tell them, because I like to be able to buy all those. I actually bought more Cordura on Monday than I've ever ordered at one time in my entire life. And I just ordered more Cordura on Monday than we've ever ordered the first 20 years I was in business.
You want me to leave this in?
I don't know. We'll see. Okay, right here where I'm at the zipper, very gently. When you backspace going across that zipper, that's where you're going to bust that needle or knock it out of time. I'm going to tack it in there. We've got some stretches in a couple different places that are weird just because the zipper, and I'm dominant on one side and goofy on the other side. It's like trying to, can you write left and right hand? Maybe you can, but you're always going to not write as good on your non-dominant hand. It's kind of like that. There's going to be somebody who's like, what is he talking about? What is writing? I have never written in my life. What does writing have to do with sewing? Okay, approaching the zipper. I'm going to go slow. I'm going to tack that in there nicely. You don't have to do it there. You can do it on the top stitch. But now when my girls sew these, we have some, I will build a product the first 2, 3, 4 times, get it exactly where I want it. And then I'll be like, okay, let's make patterns. So what we will do is before we make patterns, we will cut the thing that I have exactly where I want it and give it to production to one of a couple people out there. They'll build it and they will be like, okay, this doesn't fit here, or this needs more material here. Even though I built it perfectly, they will build it slightly different. So we build our patterns off of them. And I'm cutting, we cut this off of the patterns that they wanted. And it comes a little goony for me. You can see how I'm off right here, but when they sew, it'll go perfect. So the fix is, I'm going to sew this and I'm just going to trim this off and come up here a couple inches, and you're never going to know it. You won't be able to measure it. You won't be able to see it. It won't even exist afterwards. So here, I'm going to sew these even because I know these are even here. I'm going to sew these here even. And now, I'm going to pull, and it's going to pull underneath and on top, nice and taut. I'm going to travel up here. I'm going to put my top stitch in right here. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to pull here and pull here. When I pause, I want that needle down. That's like having a clamp on there. Get this out of my way, get the weight off of there. I'm going to travel gently across that zipper. How many of you guys ever got a product and you've busted the zipper pass, right? If you bust that stitch, the zipper comes off. That's why I tack that there. That will never come off of there. We've never had one of these things separate. And how many of you guys got a school backpack or something and the zipper pulls off? It's because it's not tacked right there. If you do that right now, you won't ever have a warranty issue with that product. If anything, we had 2 guys this month that are like, hey, the zipper failed. And I go, no, the zipper didn't fail. There's damage to the zipper. The zipper didn't fail. And one guy's like, yeah, my daughter's rodent ate it. And the other guy said it got cut on something. So if anything, you will build this product in this manner. You'll never have a failure. But if you have to go warranty it, you do risk the chance tacking that in there that you will damage this to take this apart because it is sewn so well. Okay, there. So we can cut that out. What I like to do when I'm doing product in you know, multiple pieces or the other side or whatever, I like to take this and travel right in there. I like to have as little wasted thread as possible. And I'm going to tack that there. Now that I'm a couple inches out, needle is down, that's clamped, it's locked in place. Now I'm going to cut this while I have this. I'm just going to cut all of this right here. Now there is no cleanup on this thing. There's no threads. It's separated. I like to sew everything in just right in line. If you walk around my sew floor out there, we probably throw away a mile's worth of thread every day. I mean, it is everywhere out there. Still pulling in opposite directions. Now here, I'm going to turn this. Easiest way to turn this, needle down, just starting to come up. Turn your work. And now you'll get that nice sharp 90 degree. You won't have that weird missed stitch that cuts catty corner. That's the secret to it. And if your machine is really tuned well, you don't even have to have it all the way down. I'll even turn sometimes with the needle up and then strike it. But I say this coming from a position where we just made machines work for a long time with no service, no tech. When I started doing this in San Diego, there was no internet. For us to have a machine worked on in San Diego, and I live by Jack Murphy Stadium, which is Qualcomm Stadium now, right? So Kearney Mesa, Claremont area. Right by Naval Air Station, Miramar. With us having a machine worked on meant we loaded this up and crossed the border into Tijuana and had the machine worked on there. So we learned how to make a machine that was kind of out of tune continue to sew. And the big secret to that is simply, you're going to cut thread, you're going to break thread, just learn to rethread. Like, just get good at rethreading that needle, and everything else that happens in your future sewing career will be very easy for you, or much easier than a guy who can't. Just get good at changing thread. You will see what I mean. Okay, so here's my piece. This is the top and the ends, basically. Have you guys figured out what this is yet? I'm gonna take this, find my center, right? Like I showed you guys last week, there's the center point. But you don't have to do that, right? Because everything works off center. All we have to do is take this here, make our mark there. If you're using colored pencil, you can use an opposing color that you can easily see, and colored pencil, Crayola pencil, will wipe right off. Again, fold it in half, bring it down, pinch it. There's the center. When you become confident and you know what you're doing, you can just eyeball it from there and go there. But you don't have to measure everything. You can just fold it in half and find your center points. Now this bag, my stencil, we have stencils, right? We have a pattern which shows us this. We trace it out. We cut it with scissors, just Barney style, like every second grader in the world, right? And then we have another one at our marking and clean station that's basically another pattern, and it just has all the marks as to where we're going to put our webbing. Something else, guys not using Crayola pencils, when you look at big sew factories sewing clothing, they actually use blacklight pencils or chalk, and it shows up under a black light on the sewing machine. So when it's under black light, you see your marks. When it goes away, you don't see it, so you don't have cleanup on a lot of that stuff. Same with tailor's chalk. Chalk just kind of comes off. The colored pencil, as you're sewing and needle striking, it for the most part comes off also. Okay, so there's that. Now, I am going to sew this bag in quarters, kind of, just like I did the other one. I know that I need my ends to match up, so I'm going to go ahead and tack that in here center. I'm going to show you how I would tell you to do it if you've not sewn a lot. I would sew from the center here, come right down here. that's in, that's one bite. Now turn it around and go the other direction so that it pulls evenly. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come right here and I'm going to go ahead and tack this in. Come right down and meet there, okay? You can tack this in multiple, or you can just sew it in one time, and then once the bag is all together, I would recommend, if you're not really good at sewing yet, sew everything one time, get your bag together. Then if it's where you want it, turn it back inside out and go ahead and travel around it another time or two, so you have 2 or 3 lines of stitching holding the bag together. We also, I'm going to sew, I want it about a 1/4 inch in at least, about where this stitch line is, but I don't want it more than that because we're going to edge tape this bag and it's going to conceal all this thread. A lot of people rely on edge tape to hold the bag together. We're not using edge tape to hold the bag together. We're using edge tape to give it a more finished look and just conceal the stitches. If anything, it protects the original stitches you put in there. Don't drink any of that. It'll make you pregnant for sure. You get this on you, your girl at home will be pregnant just from you getting this on you.
What is it, salt?
Be careful with it. It's Valkyrie. It's probably Valkyrie semen. It's pre-workout. Okay, here's the 1/4. That's the center on the top of the bag. So we're going to go ahead and needle down. Works as a clamp, works as a third hand. Not stretching the material, not pulling on it. Needle just holding it in place. So I'm going to come. Won't it be funny if this doesn't go together, right? Come right up to the edge, 1/8 inch from the edge of the material, 1/4 inch maybe. Now I'm going to rotate the work, needle down, struck through everything there. Did I catch it? Let's see. Man, perfect. You think I've probably done this before?
This is the first one you've ever made?
The truth is that I probably have not made one of these bags in a decade. Probably I've probably not made one of these in over 10 years. But like I said, we really make, when you do a bag that has a zipper, there's really 3 products. It's just different dimensions. And the other truth is that I have sewn probably thousands of these bags right here that have just gone to dealers and overseas over the years. So here's that extra piece. We're just going to cut that little step off. Nobody's ever going to know it was there. We'll do the same thing right here. Here's my center mark. Here is that center mark there that I marked when I folded it in half. And you don't have to do this. I have ladies out on the floor that have this uncanny ability somehow to start here and come all the way around the whole bag and have it indexed. If I do that, it'll look cockeyed. It'll be all Goonie bird. It'll be like a dodo bird that's trying to fly and can't fly. That's how it'll look. Some people can do it. For me, and a lot of it comes from just doing like really expensive bags too. When I'm doing hybrid bags, I always auction those and they go for thousands of dollars every time I build one. So the last thing I want to do is have that bag come together and not be indexed properly, especially with leather, because this, we can cut it apart and, you know, smooth over it or iron it and you won't see any of the needle strikes. You can't do that in the leather. Once you get those holes in the leather, the best you can do is cut some of the leather off and try to figure out your dimensions and shrink the bag down a little bit. But once the holes are there, you can't unhole it. You know, they can't go away. You can't heal it, or at least I can't. I don't know. I'm not really a leather guy. But I can tell you one surefire way to make it perfect every time, and that's just to do it in quarters like this. again, these little tiny screwdrivers, these are your best friends. What I'm doing here is I'm taking this, and instead of sewing over it, I'm getting it out of the way. So when I lock this in here, I'm not catching that corner. That corner won't be pulled in there weird. While it's still attached, I'm pulling and pulling up just like that. There's nothing to clean up there. That was tacked in, everything's good. And there's that nice clean corner. When we flip that bag, it's going to look nice and sharp. Now from here, you can turn around, sew it this direction so that the material's traveling, or you can catch it from here. Since I like to do it this way so it pulls evenly, I'm going to take right here, I'm going to come past where I started, I'm going to tack it in there. And if you sew the same direction, you're going to get very similar tension on both sides. By that I mean the tension you're applying to the material. Like if you took this right here and really pulled on this while you were sewing, you'd end up with an extra inch of material at the back in there, and we don't want that. We want it even all the way through. Travel right there, needle strike down, just starting to come up. I'm going to pull all this work. It's going to pull it together nicely. I'm going to use your favorite tool. I'm going to pull that out from under there. You can even go back and tack it in there if you want to at that top. Make sure it's nice and sharp. Get that work out of the way. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to push down right here. Same thing here. Pull up, push down. You don't have any cleanup. I literally pay a dude that stands all day, every day, clipping threads and stuff, and if you do it at the operator level, if you're like a one-man show, two-man show, you guys do it at your operator level, you will save a ton of money versus if you're honest with yourself and you pay yourself, you will save a lot of money doing the extra work while it's attached and you have that third hand in a manner. Go ahead and cut those off where I started and where the last one was. Just a little bit extra there. You're never going to see it. All right, so there it is. We will take this. It's kind of what it looks like. Anybody figure out what this is? I'm personally going to use it to carry my 3 favorite bowling balls, or 7 heads in a duffel bag. If you don't know it, you should check that movie out if you haven't seen it. Brandel is going to carry his 4 favorite skateboards. And let's go fill this up and see what it looks like and cut these zipper pulls off of here. You should be like, did you already clean this? That's what you should be like. Why are you giving me this? It's already completely clean.
Why are you giving me this? It should already be completely clean.
It looks like you went over it already.
It looks like I went over this already.
That's right. Did you?
Only with my eyeballs.
With your laser calibrated eyeballs?
Yes. Laser guided eyeball scissors.
Man, if people that ran a factory came in here, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? You're doing this shit the hard way."
What about a factory?
If like a dude from a real factory came in here, he'd probably be like, "Oh man, you guys are wasting a lot of time."
We did it like that in the 40s.
All right, let's fill it up and see what it looks like. I realize you use that color grading because I look too good. I realize you have to downgrade me.
I do.
It's just like slowing me down.
Always slowing you down
You're
or coloring
constantly
you
like,
down?
slow down, slow down. I'm like, I can't. It's in my nature. So I realize you record very fast so that you can slow it down and be smooth for slow motion.
So in order for everyone to actually see you, I record everything in ultra speed.
I believe it.
And then we slow it down to like 3%, and then it's normal.
It's like trying to film a bullet going through the air. Or a hypersonic missile.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I get it. I'm with you.
It's like a Russian hypersonic missile.
That's right.
That's right.
That's why you have to have a $20,000 camera.